All right, so today we're going to dive into the world of sports, but not in the way you might think. We're not going to be breaking down game stats or anything like that. We're talking about the language of sports.
Interesting.
You know, you sent over some really cool stuff, especially that script for English for Sports.
Right.
And it really got me thinking about, how powerful words can be in this whole world of sports, and not just for the players and the coaches, but for us fans too,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on there.
Yeah.
We tend to focus so much on the physical aspect of sports.
Yeah.
The incredible feats of athleticism,
Right.
the strategies. But, what often gets overlooked is the crucial role of communication.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be exploring in this deep dive.
Right.
How specific words and phrases can impact everything from, team dynamics to how we experience the game as fans.
Okay, I'm excited for this. One thing that really jumped out at me from the script was the emphasis on English being so crucial in international sports.
Yeah.
It's like a universal language that can open doors for coaches and players, and even us fans on a global scale.
Absolutely. It's like, imagine a coach trying to explain like a complex play to a team with players from all different countries.
Right.
I mean, it's not just about, getting the words right. It's about building trust.
Yeah.
Making sure everyone is literally on the same page.
Yes.
And that can directly impact their performance.
Yeah. The script gives a great example.
Yeah.
It's a very simple phrase, just pass the ball more often.
Right.
Simple instruction, but it really, highlights the essence of teamwork.
It does. And, it emphasizes that collaboration over individual glory.
Right.
And think about a phrase like, you've got this.
Yeah.
That's not just a pep talk. It's like a psychological tool.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Positive affirmations like that can actually trigger the release of endorphins, which, reduces stress, boosts confidence.
Wow.
And can lead to better performance.
That's amazing how just a few words
I know.
can have such a big impact.
It is fascinating.
Yeah, it's like the coach is like a conductor and their words are the music,
Right.
shaping the whole performance.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of essential terminology, the script is packed with those, terms like warm-up drill and strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Words we hear all the time but maybe don't always appreciate.
Yeah, those aren't just words. They represent the very foundation of coaching.
Okay.
Like, let's take drills, for example.
Okay.
Imagine a basketball team practicing a specific type of pass over and over again.
Right.
Let's say a bounce pass.
Okay.
The repetition, it's not arbitrary. It's about developing that muscle memory, those instinctive reactions, so that when they're in a game situation, that pass becomes second nature.
Right.
The right drill can make all the difference.
Wow. So even for us, just watching the game,
Yeah.
understanding those terms adds a whole other level to the experience.
It does. It's like suddenly you're seeing the strategy unfold, not just the action on the field.
Yeah, you're not just a spectator anymore.
Exactly. You become like an informed observer.
I like that.
Yeah.
And, we can't leave the fans out of this conversation.
Of course not.
Because the script also touches on how language shapes the whole experience of fandom.
It does. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Language allows fans to connect and debate and share their passion.
Yeah.
It's like this secret code
Uh-huh.
that unites people from all walks of life.
I like that.
Think about those chants that echo through stadiums.
Yeah.
Those are more than just noise.
Right.
Those are expressions of collective identity and shared passion,
Right.
binding strangers together through this common language.
Yeah, it's true. And, I remember this one time I was at a football game and the entire stadium just erupted into this synchronized chant and it was electrifying. I got chills. I've never felt so connected to complete strangers in my life.
It's powerful.
It was, yeah. And I think rivalries really showcase this power of language.
They do.
The trash talk, the memes, the banter, it all adds to the drama.
Rivalries are where language becomes like a weapon.
How?
A tool for psyching out opponents and rallying your own tribe.
Okay.
A well-placed taunt can fire up a team,
Right.
while a clever retort from a rival fan can shift the momentum of the entire game.
Wow.
It's like this verbal duel
Yeah.
that runs parallel to the physical competition.
It's like a game within the game.
Exactly.
Now, the script did mention some communication pitfalls.
Oh,
You know, like coaches using too much jargon or fans being overly critical.
Yeah, that's a great point. Coaches need to communicate clearly with their players,
Right.
avoiding confusing jargon.
Right.
And fans should remember that criticism, while sometimes valid, needs to be delivered constructively. It's about respecting the effort and dedication that athletes put into their craft.
It's a good reminder that effective communication, whether you're a coach or a fan, relies on being clear.
Yeah.
Respectful and engaging.
And that applies even when, discussing those nail-biting moments or controversial calls. We're all passionate about our teams, but using language thoughtfully can make the difference between a heated argument and a productive discussion.
Okay, so how about we shift gears a bit and delve deeper into how this all plays out in the world of fandom?
I'm game if you are.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Right.
It's amazing how language doesn't just, unite fans. It really shapes the whole fan experience.
Right.
The script touches on it a bit, but I think we can go even deeper.
Yeah, definitely. What do you mean?
Well, think about how fans use language to, analyze games.
Okay.
You'll hear things like, they've been on a hot streak, or he's lost his touch.
Yeah.
These aren't just casual observations.
Yeah.
They reflect like a deep understanding of the game and the shared vocabulary that lets fans have these really in-depth discussions.
It's true. And you know what else I've noticed? Fans often create their own slang or nicknames.
Oh, yeah.
For players and teams.
Totally.
It's like their own secret language.
It is. It's like a way of claiming ownership.
Right.
It's like we're in the know.
Right.
Creates a sense of belonging within that fan group.
I like that. And then you have those iconic phrases that become so connected to certain teams or moments in sports history.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, do you believe in miracles?
Yes.
From the 1980 Winter Olympics.
Classic.
When the U.S. hockey team beat the Soviets.
I get chills just thinking about it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Those words just instantly transport you back.
It's powerful.
It is, yeah. And I think
it's a time machine.
It is. And I think, rivalries are where this power of language really comes into play.
Oh, for sure.
You mentioned language as a weapon earlier. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, think about the trash talk between fans,
Yeah.
It's all about those witty comebacks, the clever insults, even just like exaggerated claims about your team's superiority.
Right. But it's all in good fun, right?
Mostly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Even when it's lighthearted,
okay,
there's this psychological element to it.
What do you mean?
By using language to undermine your opponent and boost your own side.
Okay.
You're playing this mental game, that can actually influence how people perceive the game itself.
So you're trying to sway the momentum?
Exactly. Even if it's just for your own entertainment.
Wow. I never thought about it like that.
And sometimes this banter can escalate.
Oh, yeah.
And cross the line into personal attacks or disrespectful language.
Right.
And, it's important to remember that even in the heat of a rivalry, respect for the other team and their fans is crucial.
It's about knowing where to draw the line, right?
Absolutely. Passion is great.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't come at the expense of others.
Totally. Now, let's talk about the media for a second.
Okay.
How do they fit into all of this?
Well, think about sports commentators.
Okay.
They have this incredible ability to build excitement, analyze plays, and even influence how we perceive athletes and teams just through their choice of words.
They can make a boring play sound so exciting.
Exactly. They use metaphors, similes, and vivid descriptions to paint a picture in our minds. And the words they choose can shape our understanding of a player's personality,
okay,
a team's strategy, or even the whole narrative of a game.
So it's not just about calling the plays.
No, it's about crafting a story.
That's interesting.
And they also introduce new phrases and terms into the lexicon of sports.
Give me an example.
Okay, how about he's got ice in his veins?
Oh, yeah.
To describe a clutch player.
I love that one.
Those phrases catch on, spread to the media, and become part of how we talk about sports.
So commentators really have this power to shape the language.
They do.
And how we experience the game.
And this influence extends beyond commentary, too.
Oh, okay.
Sports journalism plays a huge role.
How so?
Well, they shape narratives, highlight controversies, create those memorable headlines that stick with us.
It's fascinating how language is just woven into every aspect of sports.
It is, and it's constantly evolving.
What do you mean?
Well, new terms emerge. Old phrases are revived, and social media has become this breeding ground for memes and slang
Yeah.
that adds another layer of complexity to the language of fandom.
So it's like this constantly changing ecosystem of words and phrases.
Exactly, and I think it's crucial for fans to be aware of this dynamic.
Okay.
By understanding how language is used in sports,
Uh-huh.
we can be more critical consumers of media,
Right.
more articulate fans, and more engaged in the whole global conversation about sports.
Okay, so we've really gone deep into the world of fandom here
We have.
and how language shapes the experience. But what are some practical takeaways? For our listeners, even if they're not aspiring commentators or pro athletes.
That's a great question.
What? You've really opened my eyes to how important language is, like, way beyond the field or the court.
Right.
It's those skills you see in sports, motivating people, giving feedback, dealing with those, like, high-pressure moments. Those are so valuable anywhere you go.
They are, absolutely. And think about those phrases coaches use.
Yeah.
Like, you've got this, leave it all on the field, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those aren't just for athletes.
Right.
We can use those to, encourage a colleague who's facing a tough project.
Yeah.
Or pump up a friend who's feeling nervous.
It's like we all have that little inner athlete in us,
We do.
facing challenges and, trying to succeed in our own ways.
Exactly. And just like a coach analyzes, a player's performance, we can use language to give constructive feedback to others.
Right.
Instead of saying, that was a bad presentation.
Right.
Which can be so demoralizing.
Yeah.
You can focus on specific areas for improvement.
Okay.
Like, you could say, hey, your opening was strong.
Yeah.
But maybe try incorporating more visuals next time to keep the audience engaged.
So it's about being specific, offering solutions.
Right.
Just like a coach would during a timeout.
Exactly. It's not just criticism.
Right.
It's guidance.
I like that. And we can't forget about staying composed under pressure.
That's huge.
Think about how athletes handle those big game-deciding moments. They've trained their minds and bodies to stay focused and execute their skills, even when the stakes are so high.
So true.
So how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with being self-aware.
Okay.
Recognizing when those pressure situations make us anxious
Uh-huh.
or lead to us communicating poorly.
Right.
And, just like an athlete visualizes success,
Okay.
we can practice how we'll handle those stressful conversations beforehand,
Yeah.
preparing ourselves mentally and emotionally.
So like having our own game plan.
Exactly. And something else that's so important in sports is dealing with setbacks,
Right.
learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Think about a basketball player who misses a free throw.
Okay.
They don't just dwell on the miss.
Yeah.
They analyze what went wrong,
Right.
adjust their technique, and keep practicing.
Right. It's about having that growth mindset.
It is seeing setbacks as opportunities to learn and get better.
Yeah. And that's something we can all apply to our lives.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a project that didn't go well at work or a personal misstep,
Mm-hmm.
it's about seeing those experiences as lessons learned,
Yeah.
not dwelling on the negatives.
And remember, even the best athletes have lost and failed.
Yeah.
It's part of the journey.
Right.
But what sets them apart is that resilience,
Okay.
that ability to bounce back stronger than before.
So, this deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We started out talking about this script for English for Sports.
Right.
We've discovered so much more
Yeah.
about how language shapes everything,
Mm-hmm.
not just in sports, but just in life.
Yeah. And as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Okay.
Just like a well-executed play relies on time and communication and a shared understanding between teammates,
Yeah.
effective communication in life also requires us to think about our words,
Right.
listen to each other, and to really strive for clarity and respect.
And realizing that language is so much more than just words.
It is.
It's how we connect with each other, motivate each other,
Yeah.
and create change.
Powerful stuff.
It is. So as you go about your day, pay attention to the language you're using,
Yeah.
the words you choose, and how they affect your interactions with other people.
Advice.
You might be surprised by the power you have to inspire and encourage others
Right.
just by using your words in a thoughtful and intentional way.